Yeah, started. You're loaded. Get us to next.
Yeah, really.
What's that?
She's getting her
It takes a
set up.
little bit to. All right, Mike.
Good to go? Okay, we are going to get the, we're going to convene the audit committee for the Albany Port District Commission. This is December 20th, 2024. I am the chair of the audit committee, Michael Cinquani. We have present board member Stefan, board member Tagliento, and board member Warren Abriel. And so we'll get started with the agenda. First up here is the approval of the minutes from March 27th of 2024. Are there any questions? Okay, so do we have a motion to?
Make a motion.
Second? All right. First, second.
It's on this.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next up, I think we're going to discuss the audit engagement for 2024 with UHY. Do we want to kick it to our CFO Christine first? Or go right to UHY?
We can go right to UHY.
Okay. Alex?
Great. Thank you. Good morning, and board members, audit committee members, and the management, allowing the UHY to present to you the 2024 audit plan. I'm Alex Zan, I'm the audit partner. Today with me and Jessica Blackhart, the senior manager, has been working with the port in charge of the audit. So for today's meeting, we do have a PowerPoint presentation, which has been a copy has been shared with you. We'll walk you through the required communication, but also please ask any question you may have during our presentation. But we want to include in your consideration into our audit planning, right? With that said, let's move into the today's agenda, which in the page, we'll briefly talk about the objective of the 2024 audit and the responsibility by the board members, committee members, and management, including UHY. The risk assessment, which is a very important part. All the audit now is assessed based on the risk, and each year based on the port transactions, the new transaction, some item may be non-routine, out of scope. We're going to talk about in a second. And the key area of audit focus based on risk assessment and our audit approach, and also the timeline with the the expected date for the issuance and deliverables at the end of the audit, and also brought to your attention any new accounting pronouncement may impact current year audit or maybe in the future. So with that said, I will turn to Jessica.
Okay. Yes, so on page 3, it's just a reminder on the objective of an audit. And so our objective of the audit of the financial statements of the port is to enable the auditor to express an opinion about whether the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles. So we do have a plan to perform the audit to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements taken as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether from fraud or error. So that is the objective of the audit. So in doing that, our audit will include performing tests of the accounting records and other procedures as we consider necessary based on the review of the records and the process. And we will also evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies that have been taken by management and estimates as well, and looking at the overall financial statement presentation in line with appropriate standards. So as we said in the agenda, laying out the responsibilities, the key responsibilities of management versus the audit committee, and then versus UHY's responsibilities. So we just want to make sure to lay that out. So on slide 4, it outlines management's responsibilities, which are more related to key decision making and the actual preparation of the financial statements, which are management's responsibilities, but we will assist with those. The audit committee is more at the oversight responsibilities. So that's where we are communicating the audit plan here and the engagement process. And if you have any concerns or anything to discuss with us, giving you the opportunity, and we'll also be communicating again at the end of the audit. For UHY's responsibilities, we are expressing an opinion on whether the financial statements have been prepared in all material respects in accordance with applicable financial reporting framework. Our responsibility is to perform and plan the audit and to have professional skepticism. and we will comply with applicable professional standards. For the Port of Albany, this includes the AICPA, generally accepted auditing standards, as well as government auditing standards. With discussion management, we don't believe a federal single audit is necessary for this fiscal year 24, but we still do look at the government auditing, follow the government auditing standards, and will issue a report on the internal control report as well.
Can I just, for the member information, governmental auditing standard require extra layer reporting on the internal control of financial reporting. So we'll do issue a report on that too.
Yeah, so that will still be there. And then part of our responsibility, as I noted, is communicating with the audit committee at planning and at the conclusions. So we have those communications. And if anything does come up during our audit that we feel needs to be communicated, significant deficiencies, material weaknesses, and internal control, we will communicate those to you, but we've not had those in the past. Okay. So then as we do our audit, it is a risk-based approach, as Alex mentioned. So slide 6 just kind of goes over some of the topics, categories that we use in assessing the risk of material misstatement. This way we're not looking at everything, but we're narrowing what we think should be focused on based on the risk of the entity, historical experience, activity that's happening. So we're looking at materiality, volume of activity, nature of accounts as we're setting up our audit plan. The next page, we also consider fraud in a financial statement audit. The generally accepted auditing standards do consider management override of controls a significant fraud risk on any entity. So we do have that listed here and need to communicate that that is a significant risk during our audit plan, and we will perform procedures to address that as such. We currently don't have any other identified significant risks in our audit plan. If we do determine any more as we're planning the audit, we will communicate that back to you. And then part of this is just communicating that the audit committee has an understanding of any of the fraud risks as well. If anyone does have concerns or anything they would like to discuss with us as the auditors and engaged by the audit committee, please reach out to us. That's something we just also want to communicate now, is that you can directly reach out if there is anything you wanted to communicate to us privately. So slide 8 is the key areas of audit focus. This is based on our previous audits or understanding of the books and records as they stand now, can be adjusted as we do our audit plan, but we do look at critical accounting estimates, particularly there's the OPEB liability and then valuation of any receivables or investment related activity. Audit areas, something it's laid out here, but cash accounts, investments, property and equipment, grant activity, any non-routine transactions. So this year, we have been in discussion with management that there is additional consideration going on regarding the Empire Wind agreement and how that's coming to a conclusion, and how all of the costs that have been incurred to date, if there's going to be any changes in the accounting treatment. Management is working with legal and with Empire Wind and trying to determine when that conclusion is happening. So that would probably fall under the non-routine transactions, may also impact property and equipment.
And depending on the complexity of that issue, there could be up to the significant risk. We'll communicating to the audit committee later on. The read on that is a big contract, and over $100 million, and has been expensed on the, when the cost incurred based on the previous contract terms in there. But now with the Empire Wind, no longer being involved with a project down the road, and all the bridges, land improvement, what that means to the port, right? So that's two key questions we need to answer. One is, does the port need to pick up with the land improvement with the bridge have been done there, which is a significant cost incurred on there. So the second, if the port need to pick up, how to pick up? Is it on a cost basis, on fair value basis, right? So we have been several meetings with Christine and her team in there. It's a very complicated issue. It's an out of scope issue. It is a non-routine issue. So we want to be very careful to understanding the situation. Management currently is basically understanding some of the factor gathering, including from the legal, from the contractual perspective, that the port have ownership. of all its land improvement on the bridge down the road, right? So if the determination is yes, then we'll go to the accounting matters, how you're gonna pick up on your book. So we'll be very careful on that. It's not a small number, the bigger number we're dealing with. We'll keep you posted on the process.
Yes, because I'm still, working on as well, if it is, with what everything Alex is saying, is if it is a 24 item, or if there's anything in the conditions that makes it a 25 item as well, so we're working through that. We talked about fraud risks that we will be focusing on, and I mentioned materiality. We will calculate a level of materiality as we assess, what our focus areas are. So for the audit approach and timeline, this is consistent with past years. Maybe a little bit earlier on this side, I believe management has discussed that they should be ready in February, and so mid-February we should be probably doing the majority of our field work this year, and still planning to report back to the audit committee at the March meeting, and meeting that March 31st deadline for Paris requirements. And the deliverables as expected this year for the financial statement audit is the report on the audit of the financial statements of the Albany Port District Commission for December 31st, 2024. And as Alex noted earlier, a report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters based on an audit of financial statements performed in accordance with government auditing standards. We're not expecting the single audit is needed, so we don't have that in here this year. If anything changes with that, we'd let you know, but we're not expecting it. Other deliverables, if necessary based on the results of our audit, we'd issue a management letter to communicate to the audit committee anything that we wanted to report on internal controls. And we will also have our meetings with management and the audit committee to communicate audit results. There are also some agreed upon procedure reports that have been requested. So we've been working with management on agreed upon procedures. That's a separate engagement letter, separate report for the ESD grant for getting those disbursements that management has been requesting. So we just wanted to note it here. It's under a separate engagement, but we are working with management on a few of those reports. And then if there are any other consultations as requested. And the last item to note is new accounting pronouncements. Thankfully this slide is small. So this year, GASB 101 compensated absences is in effect for the fiscal year 24. This is a standard that came out to really just get government entities recording compensated absences such as accrued vacation, accrued sick time, more consistently. It's come about because there's been a little more leeway, and so this is something that the impact we're not quite sure of until we really dive into the audit and look at the employee handbook, what the policies are, and just revisit the policies. It's probably more of something we'll work with management to make sure the policies are clearly written on what the port feels like they should be accruing for. That's where more of the focus is. But it is, the key points are to recognize a liability when leave is earned and unused, and it's probable that leave will result in a future payment or another settlement. Doesn't sound much different than what's been done, so the only way it would change is just, it's mostly having, which I think we'll work with Christine on, making sure the policies for what the port accrues and why is more clearly in line with the standard and addresses all the points. So I'm not expecting anything too big, but there could be an adjustment to an accrual. But the way this standard's written, it's more gonna be a step-by-step working with management and going through the employee handbook to make sure during the audit that it's fully addressed and any disclosure requirements are updated. Outside of that, the leases and subscription-based IT arrangements were already implemented in previous years. Those will just be moving forward, making sure the port's in compliance. Nothing else has currently been issued from GASB, looking forward to talk about, but at the conclusion of the audit, if there's additional standards in the future, we'll bring those to your attention.
Yeah, so the 2024 audit including the new ASU, which Jessica just mentioned, the compensated absences, and also including the non-routine out of scope item, which the Empire one we just talked about. And I know that Christine and the management had been started planning for 2024 audit a long time ago. So we have a whole year around the conversation in there, and we'll keep the committee posted in there if we came across some issues, and otherwise we'll report back to you before the end of the audit process.
Great. Thank
Alright,
you.
with that, concluding our presentation, maybe open floor for any questions. Moving on.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Jessica.
It's nice to see only one change, right? One
Yeah.
new requirement.
There-
Makes it much easier.
Yeah. Any questions?
None for me.
No? Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
You don't have executive session or not? Okay, so I think we just need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Adjourned.
Thank you both.
We're still on.
Yes, I know, sorry. I was waiting for them to leave. Okay, so we're gonna officially roll into our monthly Albany Court District Commission meeting. And in everyone's packet, everyone should have received a copy of the minutes from the November 25th meeting. Does anyone have any concerns, changes? Okay, seeing none, I'll take a motion to approve.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, wonderful. Yes,
Cool. Can we go around the room for the record and introduce who's here?
yes, I was gonna do that after. I always forget the minutes, so I was gonna start with the minutes and then introduce everyone.
Changing it up.
I know, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do an official roll call. Georgette Stephens, Chair of the Board.
Michael Sinquani, board member.
Warren Averill, board member.
Dominic Tagliano, board member.
Richard Hendrick, CEO. Patrick Jordan, General Counsel.
Christine Studo, CFO.
Megan Daly, Chief Commerce Officer.
Angela, Administrative Assistant. Cheryl Stock, Director of Security.
Bill Ring, General Manager, Logistech Terminals.
Roddy Egan, Senior Construction Project Manager.
Penny Bahora, Director of External Affairs.
John Stein, Director of Strategic Initiatives.
Okay, thank you. So, there are no members of the public present, so we will, move to the audit committee update. So we just held our meeting. Michael, anything you wanna?
No, I mean, UHY advisors gave us a review of their planning for the 2024 audit. Everything seems to be on track. They'll report back at our next committee meeting, which is March 24th, and hopefully we'll be able to approve that in accordance with the parish reporting requirements by March 31st. So, all on track.
Thank you. Before we go into anything else, I did also wanna congratulate Megan on your being named to the City and States Trailblazers in
Yes.
Economic Development.
Congratulations.
So that's really exciting, and again, I really appreciate how the port continues to be present, active, and really leading locally and generally in the industry. So congratulations, and Rich, I also appreciate that you give the team those opportunities to be seen and active, and letting them shine. So congratulations, Megan.
Thank you.
Christine, I'll turn it over to you for the financial report.
Okay, in your packet you have the preliminary results through November, and for operating revenue, we had a positive change from previous month. And again, as we've seen over the last several months, that is because of decreased dockage fees. So we do expect to be over budget or meet and exceed our budget by almost $400,000 by the end of the year. In our expenses, we had fluctuations as we looked more closely at what our expenses will be through the end of the year. It's not no guarantee because things happen or things, get accrued at the end of the year that we may not have been aware of financially. we had an increase in payroll and fringe benefits, and that's because at the end of the year, employees with additional, personal vacation time, they can't use it and, can roll over. I'm sorry, they can buy out some of their vacation time if they aren't able to roll it over to next year or bank it based on our policies. So it's like, $25,000 increase in payroll for the month. We looked more, we've got a decrease in our projection on, professional and consulting fees, along with advertising, promotion, and association dues, as we don't expect to spend everything we budgeted. So our projection for the end of the year is that we will be under budget on operating expenses by about $300,000, and that's an increase in our variance from last month by about $100,000. Our net depreciation and other expenses are the same as they were projected for last month, and we are over budget in those expenses. And that area is in depreciation expense, and we've discussed that throughout the year. When we put the roads into service, we have an adjustment for the year on that. Our grant revenue remains the same. Our public-private partnership revenue is the same as what we projected last month. So our change in net position has an improvement based on last month of $282,000. So we expect to end the year at a negative 2.062 as opposed to the budget. And I'd like to point out that is, again, capital grant revenue. It's the timing in our PFRAP spending and revenue that will go into the first quarter of 2025 that we thought was going to be in 2024. So no big changes. Any changes that we see from last month are positive changes. So that's always a good thing. So, any questions or concerns on the financial statements?
One question I have is like, you know, I know we do the budget versus actual, but we don't ever really do like a statement of financial, like what we have where, how much, what's our cash flow, what does that look like? Is that something that I would love to sort of see that either quarterly or,
Yes,
you know,
so
mid-year or something?
I can add that to the quarterly, because we look at the balance sheet on a quarterly basis.
Yeah.
At the finance committee, that shows our balances, but I can do a
Yeah, that'd be great.
cash flow.
Okay. Any other questions for Christine? No, thank you. Okay, next I'll turn it over to Rich for an update.
Thank you, and appreciate you highlighting the award that Megan just received. In seeing her abilities and desires in economic development, I'm certainly not surprised in any way that she was chosen in the top 100. I would probably say that she would probably be chosen in the top 10. But, thank you for bringing that up. We recently, yesterday, released a penny sent out of news release.
It was fantastic. It was really good.
On our 24 highlights, and that has been picked up by some international
Oh, that's great.
publications. So it's making the rounds now, and it was very exciting. You know, again, we tried to keep it to the top 10 rather than everything else that we've accomplished during 24.
Oh, it was a really impressive piece. Thank you.
Earlier this week, Pat and Laura, not Jordan, delivered the Christmas gifts to the children at St. Catherine's, and the staff members and everybody. It was great seeing that the car got filled up with everything, and we're trying to brighten those children's holiday. The Maritime Ministry with Christmas at Sea has been doing very good. They've been distributing gifts to the sailors on the ships coming into this region all month. And I was over in the facility the other day, and the whole wall is packed with more to give out. So it's and going back to the days of Reverend Hempel when he was starting that, you know, there's still comments that the returning sailors always look forward to coming back to Albany. Last month, as you had mentioned, Capitalize Albany was going to have their annual meeting at our facility at the Dagan Warehouse. That went off on December 2nd. It was very well attended and was a great spotlight on the port operations. People that got into that building, seeing what was there and all of the cargo, you know, it opened a lot of eyes.
Yeah, I've definitely received a lot of feedback, and people really appreciated Mary's comments from Dagan Trucking, and, you know, how we move cargo is as important as how we move people, right? And so, it was, and I also appreciate she's willing to just say it. So, I think hopefully it keeps, you know, maybe some of the roundabouts at bay, or, you know, as people think about how we move things in and out of here, that they is top of mind always when we're doing new planning. You know, I know we're talking about the Dunn Memorial Bridge and 77, and so people, I think it's something that a lot of people in the room hadn't really thought of. If you weren't there, Mary talked a lot about the impacts to some of the bike lanes they've added, the road diets, the roundabouts in particular, make it impossible for, you know, the tractor trailers, and as the pieces get larger and heavier and longer, it makes it even more and more complicated. And so I think the mayor is chair of CDTC, like one of the committees of CDTC, so Mary's had a lot of conversations with her, but I think in that room people needed to hear it, and it was a good audience for that as well. So I've heard a lot of feedback on it.
That's it.
Okay. Megan? Oh, no, Penny?
Thank you,
Yeah.
So, and again, just to sort of follow up on what's been said, it was a fun exercise to actually put that 2024 highlights together, because I think that's one of those things that, a lot happens here that people don't realize. And so it was fun to be able to send that out to our staff and the commissioners, but also to send it out to media and to local folks. More as just an educational piece, but it's, as Rich said, it's nice that it's getting picked up, so people are paying attention. So
Yeah, it
that's
was an
wonderful.
impressive list.
And again, to follow up, it's been a month of a lot of events and festivities and a lot of great celebrations across the board. Our ministry folks are off, today, Friday's their normal day off, but, they also had a successful beer and carols event, earlier in the week, so we represented, and, it's nice that they're sort of, expanding beyond their, home parishes as well and getting the word out. As far as the website, we are in the design phase and sort of working through, all of those, interesting how we wanna present, our information, whether it be with maps or graphics or images, but really looking to sort of streamline and move forward with a strong, graphic presence as well. Planning for 2025 has, obviously begun, and so we'll be going on the road and visiting our tenants and engaging with those folks. Putting some events further out on your calendar. March 25th, 2025 is the 100th anniversary of the signing of legislation for the port, so we'll be looking to do something then. More to come.
I do also wanna say, I was excited to see at the port tenant event we had this month, more tenants and some tenants I've never seen. And so I think that's a testament to the work that the staff is doing, to really engage, our port tenants. And, that was really nice to see. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll turn it over to Bill.
Thank you. As you can see on the report, we had a very busy November. We had a scrap ship, back-to-back cable ships, pulp vessel, and then 1 GE project barge. We handled just under 38,000 ton for the month and a little over 600 cubic meters. You can see our updated year-to-date commodity tonnage. Probably for the month of December, you'll see some increase in the project area. That's probably about it, so you're pretty close to a final number there for the year, except for the minor changes there. Terminal activity was pretty good. Almost 4,000 ton of cargo was handled through the terminal, 319 trucks and 18 rail cars. Stored cargo, I think if I remember, maybe a slight decrease in cargo from October that's on hand. GE is beginning to move cargo out that's been stored here for quite some time, so that's beginning to decrease as we go forward. And due to the activity, and mostly due to the back-to-back cable ships, there was a very large increase in man hours. We had a little over 9,000 man hours for the month of November, which is over 200% increase from last month, and our year-to-date is at 40,000, and that's 23% increase. Accident. Anticipated for December, we have a project barge that was on the import side, which has been completed. It did originally have 2 export GE barges. It'll just be 1, which is coming in right after Christmas. The other one will drop into January. And then we had an export barge over on the Rensselaer side for a transformer that was brought in by truck and taken out by barge for, I think, some rehab, and then we could see it coming back next year. The cable drum ship we had for the month, and we just got word it's going to fall into January, so that will probably be the last vessel for that project. There's 28 drums on that ship. They're teasing us with a pulp ship. It's right now 29:30, but it could fall into January as well, so that's kind of teetering on the edge. And the heritage containers, which you see out there on the rail, that's growing to what they anticipate. The containers is turning into 3 to 4 or 5. That's ongoing, going into January. Yeah, that's about it.
So do you anticipate that our longshore hours will, for the end of the year, still be above last year's?
I think there will be. I mean, right now these are annual hours where they keep their hours per the contract year, which is October 1 through September. But I think you're going to see a little bit of an increase. I mean, there's not a lot of man hours for this month, for December. But yeah, I think you'll have a little bit of a boost from what they've had before, yeah.
Any questions for me? So as you all know, unfortunately this is Bill's last meeting with us. Bill is officially retiring in a few days. And so we have a resolution to recognize Bill. So I just want to read some of it here. It's Resolution 20-2024. Whereas William J. Ring III has worked at the Port of Albany, Rensselaer for 29 years, and his professional journey took him all across the Northeast. Bill Ring came to the Port of Albany in 1996, and Bill began his nearly 3-decade-long career quickly rising to the position of General Manager of FMT in Albany, a post that he's held for 26 years, now under Logistec Corporation. Bill led FMT and Logistec to record-setting years of vessel calls, product moved, and longshoreman hours worked in Albany. And Bill has been a steadfast supporter of the Albany Port District Commission and its mission of serving people in the business world with integrity, professionalism, and customer service. And whereas during his time here, Bill has shown his compassion for others and his commitment to various local charities and organizations, including the First Presbyterian Church of Galatia and the Timothy J. Murphy Foundation and local youth sports teams. And whereas Bill has earned the respect and loyalty of his office, an untold number of longshoremen, the entire staff of the Albany Port, the Port of Albany and Rensselaer, and the board of the Albany Port District Commission. Now therefore be it resolved that in recognition of his unwavering commitment and career achievements, The Board of the Albany Port District Commission and the staff of the Port of Albany Rensselaer extend their sincere appreciation to William J. Ring III for his loyalty and service, and the best on his well-earned retirement. So I need a motion to approve?
Yeah, honored to make that motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. So Bill, thank you so much.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
We'll
Good pleasure.
definitely miss you.
Yeah.
Okay. Turn over to Megan for her real copy of it.
Well,
I
all
know.
together. I should not say this, because it'll get me again, but it's been, it's been wonderful to work with you, and you have taught me a lot, and many a lot. But you've always done it with such, ease, and you never make somebody feel silly for not knowing anything, and you always are open to the commercial conversations, and I think I'll miss that the most. But I did wanna mention that, we do expect to have meetings in early January with Logistec, particularly with a, transition, which is expecting, some of the leadership from Logistec to come and meet. We think it's important to, take stock of where we are and where we're going, and, hopefully we'll have good reports, at the next board meeting related to that.
And certainly Bill has trained Matt and, nurtured him, so that will be a nice, it won't be the same, but it will be nice.
I don't think you'll miss a beat with him here
Yeah,
day to
he's
day and
great.
keeping your operations going, so.
Just a couple other things briefly, as we are at the end of the calendar year, we did want to give you an update on, we've had a number of efforts this year related to funding applications and seeking resources for the projects that we're working on, particularly as it relates to the expansion. We talk about culmination of one source of funds and looking ahead to next, as well as commercial development. I think everyone knows that we did submit for the port infrastructure funding application with NYSERDA over the summer. We are still awaiting responses on that, and their latest webinar did suggest that that may be in early 2025, and we'll look forward to that outcome. NYSERDA also had what's called an RFQL related to offshore wind supply chain and future funding, as well as future collaboration with potential New York 5 offshore wind development teams that are selected. That RFQL is now due, thankfully, in early January, and we intend to respond to that. And we'll look forward to the potential commercial partnerships that will come from that. Our team is also looking at if it would be appropriate in the new year to also just do a general RFI on our part related to commercial interest related to the expansion, both offshore wind and supply chain in general. So we're doing a little bit of work on that and having conversations, and there seems to be good commercial interest related to that, and that may also educate us, enlighten us on what interest is or isn't. So there'll be more to come on that. Some of those commercial conversations that we're having involve the expansion as well as a couple other parcels in the existing district, but nothing has matured to a level yet that we bring to the board, but we're working on those. And then I do have one last item that, if it's possible, I'd request for executive session related to contract negotiation, and that's it for me. Absolutely, Roddy, if you'd like to give a update.
Brief update for you, very similar to last month. Construction down at Beacon Island is nearing completion. We really only have a couple punch list items and a small signal install scope left at Corning Hill, River Road intersection. That work is planned to occur in January. It's only about 2 weeks worth of work. Otherwise, they've been doing some live stake plantings and some other kind of final finish type items down on site. We're looking at demobilizing from the site in January, so we'll see the field offices come off the site there, as well as at 700 Smith Boulevard. And then, as a reminder, through 2025, we'll continue to receive some of the procured equipment for the project. I think that was it.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you both.
Sure.
Any questions? Okay. So, at our last governance committee meeting, we actually discussed which board members would chair the various committees, and then also who would be members of those committees. The governance committee did not recommend any changes, but we need to make it official. So in your packet, we have resolution 26-2024, which lists Michael as audit committee chair with Joe, Dominic, and Warren as members. I'm an ex officio member to all of the committees. Joe would be the finance committee chair with Michael, Dominic, and Warren as committee members, and then Dominic would be the governance chair with Michael, Joe, and Warren as members. So, be it resolved that the Albany Port District Commission acknowledges the membership of the 2025 Albany Port District Commission committees as detailed in the schedule as I just reviewed. I'll take a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. One of the other things that we do and support annually is the Capital Region Chamber's annual dinner. There's great visibility. They have over 1,000 attendees, and so this is a request for sponsorship at the table. It's a great opportunity for us to network with many of the Capital Region business leaders as well. So the cost, so 27-2024 allows us to enter into a sponsorship agreement for the event, the annual dinner, at a premier table sponsor level at a cost not to exceed $3,900. Does anyone have any questions or concerns? Okay, I'll take a motion to approve.
No.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so then, if there's, is there any other business?
Yeah, just real quick, I couldn't remember if we discussed last month. The last, 10 years, but the last 2 years, we worked on demolition at 700 Smith as the final kind of capstone on the PCB cleanup of the full 12 acres. The 2 buildings that were there 3 months ago, and for the last 4 years are no longer. So that site is now completely cleared. All the environmental impacts have been removed or remediated, and the site that was underneath those 2 buildings has been cleaned, and new fill has brought in conformance with our site management and soil management plans with the EPA and DEC. We're just waiting on those 2 agencies to confirm reports that they've had for a little while. That will give us environmental easement over the site, and then have a clean bill of health to put the site fully back on the market.
That's excellent. Wonderful. Nice
That's
job.
it, thanks.
That's exciting news. I know it's been a long road.
Long time.
So, thank you for spearheading it over, hopefully, almost over the finish line, I guess. I will, we do have an item for executive session, to, contracts. Which one is that? H?
Yes, H, sorry.
Sorry, the proposed acquisition, sale, and lease, securities sale or exchange. So I'll take a motion to enter executive session.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So no action was taken during executive session. We have our next meeting, is Wednesday, January 29th. It will start at noon with the governance committee, and when the governance committee is over, it will roll into our monthly Albany Port District Commission board meeting. With no other business, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.